I'm towards the top of that mountain now, and I feel like there's clarity on the other side.
Giving yourself space and trying to be honest with yourself, like,
Welcome to episode 22. Oh yeah, 22 of Glued Together podcast. I am over here freaking out because our audio kept turning off when we were trying to get our shit together.
And I am over here nerding out because it's the new moon in Aquarius energy, and Aquarius rules technology and electricity. And so the weird sporadic thing that's happening is very on point, but we request that it's going to pause while we're recording.
Yes,
and
please.
Hope that this energy listens to us.
Give us grace.
Yes, please.
Thy starry one.
Yes, please.
Please. I'll be you'll see me, if you're watching, you'll see me constantly looking over here and looking at Jane Lee.
Obsessively, yeah.
That's probably what's going to happen today. But I'm excited for today's episode.
Yeah.
I don't know any of the questions, which normally I at least know somewhat of the questions, but I know none of them. So thank you for asking your questions. If you have them, you can drop them in the comment section below. You can email us at gluedtogetherpodcast@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can leave a question at the end of this episode if you're watching on Spotify. And while you're down there in the comments section, why don't you give us a like and a subscribe if you are on the tubers.
The tubers. I haven't heard that one yet.
I made it up, but I was trying to roll with it.
Okay.
The YouTubers.
I can go with it too.
See, now your computer's like,
yeah.
This is why we need someone else. Yeah. We need a fan, a friend, a fan, somebody to come in and put my mind at ease. I'm trying not to touch my microphone at all this episode. I'm not touching it. I'm staying in this one little corner, and that's it.
Yeah.
How are you doing,
I think
Jane
we're
Lee?
still good. I feel good. I feel like I am just very busy. And
busy.
I am trying my hardest to manage my time differently and be very aware of the ways in which I have more time than I think I have. And you'd be proud, I did get up a little earlier this morning.
You did.
And I used that time to gather our questions to be more prepared.
I will say, when you came down for coffee, you were like, I have our questions. I was like, wow, okay. All right, I'm feeling the vibe. I like the energy.
Yeah. Well, the Aquarius energy is very mentally busy, so it's supporting me right now. I'm just going with that. I have a lot going on in the next 48 hours. I have my new moon gathering I'm hosting tomorrow night. Yep. So just seeing clients and all the things. So I'm just rolling with it and trying to stay productive, and it's good. So far, so good. Yeah.
I like it. I feel like January kind of took forever. There was that meme going around like, oh, it's January 45th. You know what I mean? But I feel like February is already going by quick.
Yeah.
Everyone's always like, February goes by quick because it's a short month, but it's only, most days are 30 or 31. Most months are 30 or 31 days.
Mm-hmm.
February is 28, but this year's a leap year, so I think it's 29, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so it's really not that, it's like we're talking about 2 days. It's not that much shorter for it to feel so like it goes by so fast, but I think it's just the momentum of the holiday season. Then it's the new year. January takes forever, and then February you're like, oh my gosh, it's March 8th,
Right. And there's so many different New Years that are celebrated, right? So like the Chinese New Year is tomorrow along with this new moon, so it's the lunar new year.
Nice.
So it's the year of the dragon starting, so that's like a fresh energy as well. There's just so many different ways to like acknowledge the new year.
Right. Is it really the Chinese New Year, or is it like a religious New Year, or is it like, I feel like I'm not educated enough.
You're right. We should look more into
like,
that.
Is Chinese New Year's just like the white way of saying it, or is it the right way of saying it?
That's a really good question. We're should look into it.
Google. Yeah. If you know, leave us a comment.
Definitely.
Otherwise, we have to get on our research game.
Well, I know Lunar New Year is the way that I usually talk about it.
Right. But everyone calls it like the Chinese New Year. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of curious if that's real or not real.
Totally. Yeah. Let's look into it.
Let's debunk it if it is.
I
Um,
like it.
I am a rabbit.
Yes.
I'm a rabbit, which means it's my last time on this earth. So, see you later, guys. Love you. Bye. No more coming back for me. I'm
Mm.
going to whatever. I'm going to heaven. I don't even know what that means. I'm going to heaven. I'm going to get my. Some people have 47 virgins. What if you're a woman, though, and you die? Do you get 47 male virgins?
It's all your belief system, babe.
I know,
Whatever you
but
think.
I'm just saying. I don't really know. Do you know what happens after death?
I know what I think I know. I don't know.
Well, of course you know what you think you know. Well, what do you know? What do you think you know?
So I think I know that we are infinite and we don't really ever die. We die to these bodies, right? Like these bodies die, but I don't think we ever really die, like
Hmm.
spiritually, and we're always around. And I've had a lot of experiences because my dad died so young, and
Right.
just like unexplainable things in terms of like knowing that he's around
Mm.
happened. And
Mm-hmm.
I've shared some of that with you, but I think that's what really got me to be like, oh, so there's really no leaving. It's just you leaving the body.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, like ghosts.
Yeah, my dad's a ghost.
Do you feel like he's a ghost in like a ghosty way or like an energetic way?
I don't think he's a ghost in like the spooky Halloween way.
It's not like Casper.
I think ghosts are mostly just a presence, and it's like what kind of presence are there? Like I think the the spooky ghosts are the
Mm-hmm.
ghosts that leave the earth with some sort of a vengeance and are like
They're pissed.
yeah, and they're like, I have
They come back,
business
they're gonna
still
fuck shit
here
up.
and I'm gonna make sure that I leave my mark even though I'm not in a body. That's
So
just my
interesting.
belief. But yeah, I feel like my dad, like, he's like a guardian angel. He's just like around, like, hey, like I
Mm.
see you, like I can help,
Mm.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But I do think there's all different types of ghosts and spirits and presences and
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I know the answers, but I'm just asking to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people know what the hell you're talking about. Um,
Yeah.
I always feel like feel like I never really know. I feel like I'm very undecided. I have lots of, what's that?
Mm-hmm.
You said it before to me, like questioning energy, but what is it? Isn't there a word to describe that?
Questioning energy
Yeah, you've used it on me before.
today.
No, 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 no.
Oh, skeptic.
Yeah, that's the
Uh,
word, skeptic. I'm like, I know we're gonna get there. Yeah, I have like very skeptic energy about everything. Like I pretty much believe anything and I don't believe everything. Like that's literally how I roll. I'm like, it wouldn't surprise me, although I think it's unlikely, but I also wouldn't be that surprised about anything. I mean, if you know. So
mm-hmm.
I don't really know. What I do think what I know is that I think it I think you do whatever you do.
Yeah.
Whatever you think on earth is what's going to happen. So if you think like nothing happens, that's probably what's going to happen. If you think you go to heaven, that's probably what's going to happen. If you think you're going to go to hell,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably what's going to happen. If you think
Yeah.
you get, you know, 7 virgins, then that like
Yeah.
because we'll never actually know, so you're going to live your whole life thinking that's what's going to happen. I'm like, well, that's what's gonna happen on this earth in your brain because that's
Mm.
what you've thought for so long. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think like we have a big part in creating our reality, and so that extends into after death, right? Like
Right.
I like that idea of, yeah, like whatever you think is what you're creating for yourself. And I
Right.
think that a lot of different realities can exist at once, right? Like the
Well,
person
yeah.
that thinks that they just die and that's it, and there's no more presence at all of them, like
Right.
that works for them,
Right.
and that's fine with me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Einstein has proven that there's multiple realities in time and space and
Mm-hmm.
slowing down and speeding up and all of that stuff. So
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Einstein was an Aquarian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Aquarius
Oh.
energy is very much about timelines and connecting with the future timeline, like
Oh,
specifically the future. So
interesting.
this is a great month for vision boarding, which we're doing. We're in the
Yes.
process of doing,
Which we
getting clear.
forgot takes a little bit of time.
A lot of time.
Like, we forgot that we would just like. I mean, I feel like I just forgot that I would get stoned and just vision board for like 4 hours. So when we vision boarded the last Friday,
Hmm.
like a week ago, we did it for like an hour and a half, and I was like, I got nowhere. I mean, I have some cutouts, but I have nowhere close. Like, we used to fill up these big
Yeah.
fucking boards,
Uh-huh.
the sheet of paper you get at Michael's, like,
Mm-hmm.
and I had enough for not even an 8.5 by 11
Mm-hmm.
regular computer paper, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I guess this is gonna take a lot more time than it used to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we were in some resistance that night to it, even though we were like, this is something we know we want to do and we know the power of it because we've done it in the past. But like,
Mm,
I feel like we've just kind of been a bit fatigued in our journey
yeah,
and trying to keep our eye on
the spirit
the
alive.
future and like what is possible there, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I think it's a hard year, man. It's like
yeah.
it's just everybody. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like everyone's been saying that since 2020, but I think it's real. I mean, I think it happened for our community, the queer community, and other like minority communities before then, because I feel like our whole lives it's been kind of like, oh fuck.
Mm-hmm.
But this year with the election, I'm definitely nervous. Been feeling lots of nervous energy.
Mm-hmm.
Just not really sure what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone I talk to is like, Trump's gonna get elected, and I'm like, oh my god, like, are we manifesting
Fuck.
that? Is it not gonna happen? Even if it doesn't happen, it's not like the Biden administration has necessarily been protecting trans people. It's been state by state, like,
Yeah, I guess I had like a high hope or an expectation
yeah,
that at this point we would have a more
some federal
aligned
protections. Yeah,
human to move us forward.
right,
In terms of like protecting our human rights and
right,
preserving what is
right.
fair, like
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I
so
need to go back to that TV show, like How a Bill Becomes a Law. What's that show that everyone used to talk about? You used to
yeah.
see it in school. What was that show?
Oh gosh. I
Like,
know.
this is how a bill becomes law. This is
Oh.
what an amendment is.
Oh. I'm picturing it
I
and
know
I
I have
know
the
it.
little cartoon people in my head.
Yes.
Well, when
Leave a comment because somebody knows. But
we know it too. It's
yeah.
just not in our frontal cortex. Is that what it is? Your frontal cortex? I feel like I need to go back and rewatch every single one of those episodes because
Yeah, you're right.
I'm still confused as to how we had a federal law. Like, why couldn't Biden just say, okay, Supreme Court, you think that Roe v. Wade needs to be removed and abortion can be legal? Nah. I don't know if that's just like a dictatorship where literally the one person can decide everything,
Yeah.
but it just felt like we also leave it up to, you know, these Supreme Court justices who are not elected by us. It's like an election by proxy because we elect the president and then the president elects the Supreme Court justice, but that's not actually us electing it. I don't know. It's really messy and very
So messy.
confusing.
Yeah, and yeah, it takes so much to become literate in all of that,
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be hard.
yeah.
I did learn how a bill becomes a law, though. That I did learn living in Florida.
Mm.
Well, I got introduced to it in Texas, and then I really comprehended it in Florida. Because in Texas, it was kind of like, were following these laws, but I wasn't taking the initiative to follow. And then we moved to Florida, I took more of initiative to actually get updates and hear how many votes and watch
Yeah.
the sessions and
Yeah, that's how things got scary real fast.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, it feels so important to feel safe, which I is sounds like a silly thing to say,
I don't think it's silly.
but well, I think everybody would agree they want to feel safe, right? Like, and it just feels like more and more people are recognizing how important that is.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
from our like, right, like we're white, I think that there's a lot of intersectionality that we're not.
Yeah.
Our list of intersectionality is quite small, so I think that it's just everybody is becoming aware of it. And so
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Shit's wild. I'm hoping that I don't know. What do you am I hoping that just everyone dies and we have to just start all over? Or it's like, listen, everyone's dead.
Yeah.
Let's just like start from scratch. Let's take the dry eraser, just erase it all. Let's
Mm-hmm.
redraw what's happening here. Figure
Yeah.
out what's happening,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
Starting this
there's gonna
podcast
be
off
changes.
really positive, folks.
There's gonna be changes.
Real
And I
positive
feel that.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Well,
it's gonna take, but it's yeah.
yes. Yes. It is a changing time for me personally. I feel like our last episode we talked about my hair, and I feel like it's continuously coming up for me. I don't know if I'm just hyper focusing on it because I'm feeling this sense of stress or
Yeah.
something. I'm taking all of my emotional stress and anxiety and being like, I'm just going to focus it on this one thing. But I definitely feel like there is a clarity that's coming
Mm.
in the horizon for me.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what it means, but it just feels like I'm walking up. I'm going to use a hill analogy, but it's really not connected to
Oh
last
man.
week's episode. I swear it's really not. But
Sure.
I feel like, okay, so I feel like I'm walking up a mountain and I'm about to hit the top, hit the peak. Jaylee and I went on our 5-year anniversary to Hawaii, and we climbed up that very infamously famous
Stairway.
stairway to heaven, or it's
Yeah.
called, or whatever. It's obnoxious, and it's pretty much a ladder. It's not even stairs. Especially on the way down, you're just going down on your butt because you're like, I'm gonna die. That was a beautiful sunrise, and I'm gonna die today. And it was like that moment as you climb up, you climb up, you climb up, and you don't see anything until you literally kind of climb up that last step. The last step, you get to the top, and then you can see everything. And I feel like I'm towards the top of that mountain now. And I feel like there's clarity on the other side. I really hope there's clarity on the other side. My
Mm-hmm.
optimistic side of me is like, yes, there is clarity on the horizon, and I'm just waiting
Yeah.
for it. I'm anxious. I'm looking back down the staircase, and I'm like, oh my god, am I gonna fall? Am I gonna die? Am I gonna make it to the top?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, the whole thing feels like an exercise in patience, honestly, because it just, even with,
what whole thing?
this whole experience of like this year so far, we'll just say that, but
Right.
like, I want to say our move from Florida to New York, like just this
Yeah.
whole chapter of ours just feels like a really massive lesson in patience, and patience is not our forte, especially
No.
together. And so I think, yeah, like I love the analogy of the stairway to heaven in Hawaii, because we had to be patient going down that mountain, like, and up. Like you can't rush because your
No.
life is on the line,
No. And there's
and
a
I
lot of motherfuckers up there.
yeah, and with everything, like everything feels so risky, like politically, this, like everything that's
Mm-hmm.
happening,
Mm-hmm.
and We have so many question marks in terms of like where we're even going to be and what we're going to be
Right.
doing. And we know that we're going to be doing this podcast, and like we're trying to tether ourselves to what we can, that it, like we can control the consistency of, and like
Right.
just like, okay, we're going to continue showing up to this thing.
Right.
I'm going to keep continuing, to do my readings. You're going to keep, showing up to your work. Like it's just all these things that we can do, but there's so many questions, and I just
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's a massive challenge in our patience. And I hope that by the time we get to that mountain you're talking about, like the top, and we could see everything, that like we're just more patient people and we can practice that more, I
Yeah.
hope.
I hope. I hope.
I
But I
hope.
think if you, I don't know, think of an athlete like a marathon runner, like when they're in the last 3 miles, they're probably still not patient no matter how many times they've run that
Mm.
a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that you build coping skills that,
Endurance.
yeah, you build the ability to continue on and not be overwhelmed as easily,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, totally.
speaking of questions, we've got
We do have
questions, but before we
questions.
get to
Yep.
that,
Mm-hmm.
what is your glue? I did not
Think about glue.
think about my assignment today. I really need to take time, maybe in the morning when I'm working out.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta remember, like, we're recording. What's my glue?
I feel like my glue this week is my schedule, and you helping me sync my schedules this week was like amazing. Like
It's not
just
perfect, but
like I was in such a state of anxiety about my schedule and my schedules clashing and our schedules and Antler and
mm-hmm.
everything just felt messy and chaotic. And Aiden helped me do some of the behind the scenes not electronic. What am I talking about?
It's electronic.
Yeah, electronic
tech
work in my work scheduler and our Google Calendar, and like syncing things together so everything is like visible, and that just feels really good because I just have like a lot has been placed on my plate within this
mm-hmm.
past few weeks, and since February started, I feel like and so I'm just sort of like managing it all, and I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. So
Yeah.
thank you, technology. Thank you, schedules. Thank you for your offering.
I was more just annoyed
gift.
that you don't, you're paying for a scheduler. It's like, make it work for you,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If there's one thing I've learned at my now, I mean, I've almost been there for a year now. My job is just the ability to have a flow so that when you hit play, you run through the whole thing. And in order, like, there is no pause
Mm-hmm.
button, there's no stop button. It's like, once you hit play, you have to finish it through
Mm-hmm.
in order for it to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I saw was missing in your stuff, was just like, how do you not have this hooked up to it? How do you not have them automatically sending a Zoom link?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
You're manually sending Zoom links?
Mm-hmm.
What is happening?
Yeah.
So I feel like I did it because I was just like, I couldn't. I selfishly wanted to help you because I cannot hear her talk about her schedule conflicts one more time. This is such an easy fix.
Yeah.
I just can't do it anymore. You have, like, get it together, girl. Get it together. But yeah, no, I'm happy for that. I feel like my glue is honestly. So my glue, like, if I really think about it, so I had a hard weekend. It was rough, people. I have been down when I'm down and high when I'm high. And I had a rough weekend. It wasn't even the whole weekend. It just was like, it started on Thursday in the later afternoon, and then it kind of like lingered into the weekend. And then it really hit me on, was it Sunday, I think?
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, I just was like, fuck everything. And I started watching bad reality TV. That's what kept me here. And it allowed me, the reason I started watching is because it just allowed me to just leave my brain behind and my emotions behind and sink into this ridiculous show that, and it also got me addicted to want to finish the whole show. So then I just, what normally where I would be like, Aiden, just push through, just you shouldn't be sitting down right now. I just was like, you know what, I have 45 minutes between this meeting, I'm gonna go watch this show, where normally I just would work, and that I never give myself a break. And so the obsession to want to finish gave myself that break. And so the show I watched was this show called Trust on Netflix. And it's all about people coming together in a house, which is every reality show ever. But they all have this trust of money, and they have to decide if they want to share it with everyone or keep it for themselves. And there's different, it's all about trusting people. So it's a trust of money, and it's about trusting individuals. So, I think it was like more those are always more interesting to me than like the dating ones. I'm really not into the so and so slept with so and so and then they kissed this person and blah blah blah. I'm just like, everyone is a slut. Like, I feel like even the one who doesn't seem like it is, they are at the end. They always are. So
too predictable for you.
Yeah, I'm not into it. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
I have friends. I have a good friend, Taylor, and he loves those shows. And when I'm with him, I watch them, which is not often. It's like once or twice a year I get to hang out with him. But we always have at least one night when we're together. And he hates it when I watch because I'm just like, why? What? Blah, blah. And he's like, shut up and watch a show. So, but I really think that was my glue. My glue was shitty TV that just let me escape and become obsessed of wanting to watch it and binge it. And it just, I really feel like it gave me space. And then I slept in, till 8:30, which is pretty late for me, and twice, and I feel like I'm back. You feel like I'm back?
Definitely back.
Yeah, I feel like I'm back, but it was a little rough.
You mentioning Taylor reminded me of my other glue is like looking forward to Taylor Swift brunch on Sunday that we're going to.
Yep.
With our friends Vance and Julie. Excited about that.
Yep. That'll be fun. I don't know what to expect, but we're probably gonna get drinks that are Taylor related. They're gonna have music. It's pretty much what I've decided. It is the Super Bowl for people who don't watch the Super Bowl and love Taylor Swift. Because it's on Super Bowl Sunday, but it's in the daytime before the game, and it should be fun.
Yeah, we don't get to do double date stuff often. So we have a babysitter.
Yeah, we shipped Antler off.
Brunch, and a day drink.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. I want to have like waffles and pancakes. Wait, waffles and chicken.
Okay.
Like that's like the vibe I'm going in as.
Okay.
That's going to be my Super Bowl. Okay. Because I have to drive to the Super Bowl, so I can't like really drink heavily. Like I can have a beer or two, but I can't like really drink. Like by halftime, I have to stop drinking so I could drive home. Yeah. But that event, we could walk home if we need to. Take a little stroll, a little drunken stroll. Maybe we should walk if it's a nice day out. Even if it's cold, it's not that far of a walk. We can just walk there. Eat my chicken and waffles and get my, I don't know what Taylor Swift type of drink would be named.
Oh, I saw it online.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Don't tell me. I want to go with the surprise. I'm going to get the forever, what is that song? 22?
Yeah.
I'm going to get one that's called 22. It's going to be like a Long Island iced tea. It's just going to have all types of shitty alcohol in it because that's what you drink when you're 22.
I don't like shitty alcohol.
I know.
No tolerance for it.
I know. You're very fancy. Very fancy lady. All right, let's do these questions.
Okay.
What the people came for.
Onward.
All right, my audio's still working, so that makes me happy.
Okay. First question. I really want to be a trans and queer educator in the South Asian community that I'm a part of. I'm active on TikTok and Instagram, but I'm not sure how else to get my name out there. I've been playing around with the idea of starting a podcast, but I don't even know where I would start or what I would say. I don't see much trans representation within the South Asian community, which is why I want to do something. Do you have any advice on where to start?
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I, you start where you start,
Mm-hmm.
which is not my favorite answer. Doesn't give a lot of context, but you start where
Yeah.
you start.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to influencer work, it's really influencer work is honestly, I can't help but feel like it's kind of a pure luck thing.
Mm.
To be completely honest, I can get like you can follow every example that who's like a super known influencer guide person. Gary V. Like I don't know, some people might know that, some people might not, but Gary V is a influencer, motivational guy. It motivates people who are influencers. Is like make content, content, content. You can follow every single trick of the trade, but if people don't like, I don't want to say people don't like you, but if you
Right.
don't have the ability to
Mm-hmm.
talk to a camera, if you don't have something that people can relate to, they're not going to watch you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that's what I mean by I don't want to say people don't like you, because it's really a luck thing, and it has to do with beauty standards. You have to be pretty enough. You have to be, you know, there's just a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't if you really want to impact like the South Asia community, is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
South Asia? Um if you really want
Yeah.
to South Asia or Asian?
South Asian community.
Okay. If you really want to influence a specific and be a representative for a specific community, then I would just talk to that community in the most authentic way you can and put yourself out there. And if you want to start a podcast, do it. But what would be easier would be starting a YouTube channel, like what we did with this podcast, right? Start making videos, start making content. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
make content every single day, but at least say, okay, I'm going to make 3 pieces of content a week. Go and let people know what you're doing. Go to other people's pages and be like, hey, that's so cool. I have this YouTube channel where I talk about being this, that, and the third. And, engage with people, leave comments, write to people in their DMs if you want to do a collaboration or something. Just put yourself out there. But I think that the whole, hitting 1 million subscribers or something on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, I really think it's a luck of the draw, and I really think it's fleeting. That's the other thing I noticed, is that you will find really the most impactful transgender advocates I know are not the most popular. And the most popular people I know are not the best transgender activists. So that's kind of what I would at least start off by saying is like,
Mm.
get really clear. What do you want to do? And what's the long term? Because these are questions I wish someone had asked me
Mm.
earlier.
Mm.
Because I would have said, oh, I think this is my long term. And instead, I didn't think of the long term as much. I just thought, well, I'll just be an influencer like forever, right? That's a thing. And it's like, no, it's not a thing. There's no influencer forever. Even think of all the influencers they're doing other things. They're models, or they're singers, or they're actors. Like, they're doing things. And so think about that.
Right.
Or do you want to just be an advocate? An advocate is starting a nonprofit, it's working at a nonprofit, it's being a voice for the community. It's advocacy is a lot of free stuff. I mean, both of them, you
Yeah.
do a lot of free stuff.
Yeah. And this person specifically stated, I want to be a trans and queer educator.
Right.
So that's
Well,
your
I would,
focus.
yeah, so then educate and then use the social platforms to get the
Mm-hmm.
education out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the other thing that I always question with everyone, because I always question it in myself,
Mm-hmm.
is everyone's like, I just want to like help people. I just want to educate people. And it's just like, yes, and you want to be popular.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those things are usually true,
Mm-hmm.
because it's
Mm-hmm.
what I started off being like, I just want to connect with people. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I just want to educate people. But then there's always an underlying part that's like, you also want to be popular.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So figuring out
Mm-hmm.
what do you really want,
Mm-hmm.
because and it's okay
Yeah.
to do want to do that.
Mhm.
It's very much okay to want to do that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I think checking yourself in terms of your why, of like why you want to educate and what you want to educate about, and just starting somewhere, right? Because
Mhm.
I think like we think it has to be perfect and we have to do it on this particular platform, and like whether we realize it or not, we're using somebody else's journey or the way that they did it as a template,
Right.
and that's not going to work for us because we're we're unique, we're different.
It's a good
And
start, I would say, though.
yeah, I mean,
It's a good starting point.
it's okay to look at other people as a template to some degree, but there is no like they did exactly this, and if I do exactly this, I'm going to
Right.
be
Right.
successful. You have to really get in touch with your authentic um, educator. Like, what do you authentically want to educate about, and just start doing it, and don't fuss about where you're doing it or on what scale you're doing it and how many people are receiving it, like, cuz I think if you're having a good time doing it and you're in a good flow with creating content because you just
Mm.
like it and it's just pouring out of you, I think that you're going to attract the right audience. And this is a
Right.
lesson I'm still learning for myself, for sure, because I definitely took a long time to start creating in a way that feels really authentic to me, even though it doesn't necessarily meet a million people,
Right.
you
Yeah, I
know?
mean, we were just doing this the other day when you
Mm-hmm.
posted your reel and it didn't go as well as we thought it would,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just like you got to be able to look at your content
And like it.
and like it.
Yeah. You have to like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to like it, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's even why I even stopped. And I'm not like the most followed, the most popular, especially now. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
at one point, maybe I could have claimed the top 3 rankings of like trans men that you might know, right?
Yeah.
But I think that you just have to be able to look back and like what you made. And even in my own content on YouTube, I stopped liking what I was making. It just felt more like, well, I have to make a video. Well, what am I going to talk about now? It just felt like, okay, I guess I'll make another tips video or I'll make another whatever video. And
Yeah.
I've gone backwards. I make my vlogs once a week now,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just whatever I want them to be.
Yeah.
And I don't really care if 300 people watch them or 3,000 people or 30,000. I mean, I've never had 30,000 people watch one of my videos within, a week. But just in general, like,
Mm-hmm.
I like making them more now, and they feel more authentic like they were in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I built the most personal connections too, was in the beginning.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, I would say definitely also looking at opportunities to be a voice where there is no voice there. So maybe you were saying, oh, you don't see enough South Asian representation of trans people, going and sitting on panels where there is none of that there. You know what I mean? Calling people out or in and being like, hey, I noticed you have this, that, and the third, but like there's no South Asian representation. I'd love to sit on this panel for you. I definitely think that. I also think that like people should get paid for their work, and
Mm-hmm.
you should also do work for free. I think that there's a fine balance of that. So I think there was a time where everyone was like, you should get paid for every minute of everything you ever do. And at the same time, if you want to make really impactful change, the local LGBT group that you have isn't going to have $500 for you to sit on a panel for an hour. They might
Mm-hmm.
not even have $50, right? But I still think you should do it, right? I think that
Right.
if someone's going to make money off of you, then you should get paid, right? But if you're just doing something, then you probably, it's okay to, it's just okay to not get paid too. I think that there's
Yeah, well,
the
I think
fine line.
if it's in alignment with what your truest passion is, which it sounds like it's to be an educator,
Right.
right? Like, then it's definitely worth looking at
Plus,
taking
you
the
can always put
opportunity.
those things on a resume.
Yeah.
If you're trying, when you start building your website, you can always say, oh, like these are the panels I sat on, this, that, and the third. These are the
Mm-hmm.
interviews I've done. These are the places I've written op-eds for, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
can do those things, and a
Yeah.
lot of those things you can do. You can write an op-ed, I think, for a lot of different LGBTQ plus places and post them for free without having someone like have to
Mm-hmm.
call you in. Like generally, you could write an op-ed right now, and I'm pretty sure you could post it on the NBC Out news website.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
not.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, just like getting back in touch with like, I'm an educator, so I'm going to educate. What does that look like today? And don't be too attached to it,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and all your influencer friends don't make a lot of money unless they're doing lives on TikTok or they're getting brand deals. So 99% of the content you see made by your favorite influencers, even if they are educational influencers, that is not how they're making their money. They're making their money in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and I know that we kind of talked all around, but I think that they're together, right? Like if you want
Yeah.
to get out there, you have to use social. That's how you do it these days.
Mm-hmm.
That's just it. You know, so
Yeah. Thanks for this question.
yeah, I mean, do it. I would say do it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't not do it. That's for sure. That's what
Yeah.
I would always say.
Definitely just start.
Start.
Just start.
Exactly. You start where you start.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I love
Next.
Janely's always so sweet. She's always like, "Thank you for your question." I'm always just like, "Thanks." Not even. I'm just like, "Next."
Okay. Hi, Aiden and Jenny Lee. I've been
Hi.
Oh, sorry. I thought
Sorry.
my mic was okay.
No, I don't even know what's happening with your mic. It's black over there, so I'm just letting my anxiety live in the black,
Double check.
in the blackness. Gotta put the passcode in. I'm not gonna say it.
Nope. It's still recording.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay.
Baby Jesus.
Next question. Hi, Aiden and Jenny Lee. I've been following along since Aiden's days of Men's Health magazine, and I'm stoked for your podcast.
Woo woo.
I am a 35-year-old trans man.
What
I've
up?
been on my own personal journey for a bit and recently decided to go full throttle and start taking testosterone.
Wow.
I'm really excited for this next chapter, but could use some advice on how to navigate being misgendered in public. While I feel that I already look pretty masculine, I don't have a beard or a deep voice yet.
Mm.
I'm sure you and many listeners can relate to the feeling of being embarrassed and humiliated when this happens. And it flat out feels insulting.
Mm.
I'm just trying to go about my errands, like going to the grocery store, take the dogs out, or go out to dinner with my wife. I feel like the misgendering has been happening more frequently, or it's just hitting harder.
Mm.
I'm tired of not saying anything and just taking it. But at the same time, I'm not sure what's the best way to deal with these usually short interactions.
Mm.
Any advice from you or the community would be really appreciated.
Yeah, definitely welcoming everyone who's listening to leave a comment on our YouTube, some advice of what you do when you're misgendered, and regardless of like if that's now or earlier or but yeah, I mean it's definitely. I mean, I can't say if it's happening more or if it's hitting harder. It could be both, but it's definitely frustrating and annoying. And the approach I have always taken when it's a short interaction is that it's not worth my time. Because as much as I want to educate that person, I'm not going to be able to do it in 5 seconds. And if I say, oh, it's actually he, they're just going to be like, what, huh, huh? Like, they're going to be, and then if there is any further interaction, it's going to be weird. And this is me.
Yeah.
Like, some people are just like, fuck that. Like, they go to the 7-Eleven, they buy their stick of gum, and the person says, thank you, ma'am. And they're like, it's sir. And then that's it. And they're very confident and proud, and that ain't me. Like, I'm confident and proud, but I also just I'm never gonna see this 7-Eleven cashier again. I'm never like it. Yeah, I just have to move on. But what I'd rather spend time working on is not correcting them in that short interaction, but rather working on myself and trying to feel confident that regardless of how anybody genders me, I know who I am, and that's it. Of course, there are still lots of feelings that come along with that when you're early in transition, especially to this, question asker. It's clear that you took a really big leap of faith after waiting a very long time, which means that you are in a vulnerable space to begin with. Like, you waited and now you did it. And I'm sure there's a lot of questions in your mind about, like, was this the right choice, or, thoughts like that. And so confidence might not be the top of the scale here. You might not be able to tip that scale very quickly. So I would just continue to remind yourself that this is, they don't know who you are. I get misgendered on the phone all the time.
Yeah,
I
that's true. That's
literally
something
call
that,
my
yeah.
doctor and they have my chart in front of them. My name is Aiden, which is not stereotypically a woman's name. And they're always like, yes, ma'am. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I just continue on because it's not worth the time. And I think sometimes it is always annoying, even now. And I just think, like, the amount of men I hear that don't have like a super low voice, like, why are you even using ma'am and sir? Like, what? It's
Mhm.
not. I know that there are people who are like, even people our age, where it's like, oh, it's polite. It's your elders. And I'm just like, it's like not though. If I say ma'am to my mom right now, she's in her 60s. She's like, don't ma'am me.
Mhm.
Like, I don't. I think most people find it more insulting to be ma'amed than not.
Mhm.
Maybe just living in New York,
Mhm.
being a New Yorker, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered the question.
I mean, you gave your opinion. I think obviously, yeah, I encourage people to comment about this because I think there's so many different experiences and,
And
you know,
people, like,
and
people just handle things. I
right. And
hate
it's been a long time since you've been misgendered face to
in person,
face. The
right?
phone thing has definitely
And
stuck through the transition.
even if they did misgender me face to face, it would be like, oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do remember it happening early on in your transition, but it's been a while. And so I encourage people in different phases of their transition to share their experience in the comments because I think that's going to be helpful in
Yeah,
terms of like normalizing this very real experience that you're in because you just started taking testosterone. The trans men I've worked with as clients in my healing practice, I just want to normalize it in that sense that like I have heard this experience over and over just being just completely humiliating, and so like we've worked a lot on like releasing shame and like
mm,
reclaiming your right to take up space in your gender and exactly where you are on the spectrum at that moment. And everybody is going to have a different answer. I mean, for Aiden, he decided that like it's not worth my time, and like like for you, you might feel like it is worth your time at some point.
mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to a just feel normalized that this is something that like I personally have heard so many trans men go through, and obviously trans women as well. And just there's so many different places to be with it, clearly. And so yeah, just like holding space for like the rawness of where you're clearly at with it right now. And
Yeah,
just like giving yourself space and trying to be honest with yourself, like talking to somebody about it so that you can process it. Like obviously processing with your wife, but like even like somebody outside of your wife would be a good thing. I'm always going to be the advocate for healing because I'm a healer, and I have seen trans people really turn corners and not have to carry so much shame because of healing and choosing to engage in that process. So that's my take on it.
yeah. I'm gonna edit this video and just put your take and then my take because yours was much more compassionate. feel like mine was lacking compassion, so my apologies for any lack
Um,
of compassion. I just, I think that I get angry, but
mhm.
the way I handle my anger is very, I think, abnormal.
Mm,
Cuz I get angry that it happened, but the way I like bring out the anger is like I'm going to give you none of my time. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Like you're not deserving of my time and you will get none of it.
Right.
And I won't go back there and like that, like my silence is how I speak the loudest, I think,
Mm,
in a lot of ways.
mm,
Um but yeah, the inner self-talk, I will say everybody has a period of their transition. Anybody who goes on HRT will have a period in their transition where they are misgendered often. For sure. It happens. And it's really shitty. And it
yeah.
really sucks.
Yeah.
And it really makes you feel completely unseen and completely erased in who you truly are. And it is terrible. And I think it definitely makes being correctly gendered feel really great though. Like
Mm,
the other side is like when it does happen, you're like, yeah, you feel
mhm.
really seen, and
Mhm.
the misgendering does tend to happen less and less and less, and then all of a sudden you think back and you think, wow, I don't think I've been misgendered in like months now,
Mhm.
and it just kind of happens like that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, just love to you, and definitely want to hear everyone's thoughts in the comments below as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested too. Thanks for this question.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
okay.
like both of these
Yeah.
questions just make me realize that the first question is like super loaded for me because I have so many thoughts and feelings around influencer work,
Yeah.
and I have my own, you know, internal battle with
Mhm.
influencer work,
Yeah.
and I play on both sides of the spectrum of influencer work slash educator work slash
Yeah.
jealousy and annoyance, but also like confidence and like being really happy and grateful. So
Mhm.
it is such a seesaw
Yeah.
for me. And then even with that question, I think it's like, as a trans person who has been out for so long now
Yeah.
and transitioning for so long, and I like, honestly, I never thought I would say this, but when I came out in 2009, it's almost like it was the good old days. It really is. Like, and if you ask me then, it's like, are you kidding? Is that really what you're going to say? If I was talking to 2009 me, to
Yeah.
2024 me, they would be like, you're crazy. But honestly, it just really feels like back then, I, it was a different political world, and you could fly under the radar a lot easier. You
Mhm.
just could.
Mhm.
You would stand out, but people didn't even know what to do. Like, they didn't even know how to
Right.
insult you then. They didn't
Yeah.
even know what transgender
There
was.
was no
You
language around it yet, really. I
I could
mean,
stand up in a room, people would be like, I don't know if that's a he or a she, right? And I could be like, I'm transgender, and they would be like, the fuck is that? Like, okay, like what word did you just say to me?
it's so true because like the first trans person I was with, we didn't use the language "you're trans" or
No.
"you're transgender." I like neither one of us knew that word or were aware that this was something that could be named. I just knew that like this person asked me to use these new
It
pronouns,
wasn't
and they
even a
didn't say, oh wait, they didn't say pronouns. There was no
no.
pronouns. It was more just like, can you call me he, but not in front of other people.
Right.
Like, yeah, like that's what it
Right.
was back then.
Right. And it wasn't even like I'm trans. It was female to male. I'm
Mm-hmm.
FTM. It wasn't even
Right, and that was
FTM.
even new.
It was
Like,
F2M.
right,
F the number 2 and then an M.
right,
And
right.
it wasn't even like transgender was not even a word. Like everyone was still using the word transsexual.
Yeah,
It was just a
and that got
debated word.
unpacked and unpacked and
Yeah.
unpacked. Yeah.
And it was almost like
Mm-hmm.
my generation, our generation of trans people came into the older generation and were like, we don't use the word transsexual.
Mm-hmm.
because that sexualizes us, and it's not a sexuality. It's like homosexual. Like this isn't about my sexuality. This is about my gender and my gender identity, right? And even now, like, if sometimes I say, "Oh, F to M," people would be like, "Oh, like, well, that's not. You shouldn't say that now," right? So it's all we were. Like we were that generation to the older generation, and now the young generation. I mean, we're cool. We're cool. We're hip. Like we get with it.
I think that we shapeshift into like both, right? Because like I feel like we're aging ourselves when I'm like aging myself when I'm like, yeah, I didn't even know my partner was trans because that word wasn't even in our awareness or anything. Like,
but it wasn't even a word.
Right.
Like now people say, oh, well, I didn't even know what trans was. It's like, well, trans wasn't even trans then. It wasn't a word. You didn't say the word trans. That's not what you said in 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like that wasn't a word that was said. So
definitely not.
Yeah, so I forget where we're going off on a tangent, but
yeah, I think you were just trying to speak to why you responded the way you did initially, because it's been a long time since you've been in that place of being confronted with that,
right?
And you
in forget,
the ways in which this person is.
You forget not because you just forget, but you forget because it's painful, and your mind wants to forget things that are painful. So,
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Can't believe we're still going.
Do we have another? Do we have time for another question?
What's the next question?
Okay.
Is it loaded question? How many sentences is the question?
See.
She did tell me that one question is really long, which is fine. But
so I could do.
I feel like we're good.
We're good.
I feel like we chatted it up.
Yeah, I think so too.
We answered 2 questions. I dived a little bit more into those questions for myself.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be really interesting to do an episode. We need to make a list of all the different episodes that we could do. Because I think like an episode on just what it is as a trans person as you get older.
Yeah.
Like elder trans stuff and how you manage and mitigate the newer trans people coming up, and how do you not erase what you know and what feels good to you, and but also respect what's happening now, and acknowledge and have that be a truth at the same time. So I think that'd be an interesting podcast. If you have questions about that or any other questions, please email us at gluedtogetherpodcast@gmail.com. You can leave a comment at the end of this episode, or you can drop it below if you're on YouTube. You can also subscribe on Spotify. I think you're following on Spotify, but subscribing on YouTube. Do all of the things. We love to get the questions, and
be sure to share your favorite episodes within groups that you feel like would be into it or would get something from it. Feel free to just hit that share button and text and put into a group, whatever you feel called to do.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Catch you in the next one.
Okay. See you next week.
Bye.
Thanks.